Okay, students, so what you're doing or beginning this week for our lab activities is beginning to learn the names of the bones of the axial skeleton, and then also learning the names of some of the markings on those bones. The axial skeleton is made up of the bones that you see here, and they're also highlighted in purple for you. Oh, I'm sorry, not purple, green. What am I talking about? The axial bones are labeled here in green. The appendicular bones are labeled in purple. So we're going to explore both the bones of the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton for the remainder of this unit. So you don't have to memorize all of these things today or Wednesday, but these are all things that you'll need to know for your bone exam. But we do spend several class periods working on these things. So I don't want you guys to get nervous or anxious because you can't commit all of these things to memory the very first time that you look at it. We're going to take some time to learn these, okay? So as far as the axial skeleton goes, the axial skeleton is made of 8 bones of the cranium, so the skull, and the 14 bones in the face, 6 auditory ossicles. You could also call those ear bones, right? There's 1 hyoid bone, a sternum. There are 24 ribs, so 12 ribs on each side, right? All of the vertebrae, or the bones that make up your spine, are part of the axial skeleton. The sacrum, and then a bone that you don't see, not a very good place to put that bone, I suppose, but also the coccyx. So those are all of the bones that make up the axial skeleton. We're going to learn the names of all of those bones, and we're going to learn the names of some of the markings or structures or landmarks on those bones. So let me give a preview of some of the terms that you're going to be using when you name these landmarks. So what you see here are generic terms for bone markings, and you're going to see these terms repeated in several different regions of the skeleton. So I'm not going to test you on what is a ramus, for example, or what is a fissure, or what is a sinus, for example, but you're going to see these terms repeated over and over again in the names for the landmarks. So if you go ahead and understand what a ramus is or what a fissure is, when you get further down into identifying landmarks, then it's going to be a whole lot easier for you to remember the names of those landmarks because you know what it is you're looking for. Remember in the first lecture I said one of the hardest things about science and anatomy, more specifically, is just the terminology. You just got to find a way to, I hate to say it, memorize some of the terms. You got to learn the language of anatomy. We spent a whole lecture talking about that. So I'm not saying that that this is a pain in the butt. It's just kind of like one of the processes that we have to go through while we're learning anatomy. So this is a graphic that shows you some examples of each type of marking. And in the next photo, I'm going to show you a table that has these bone markings defined for you. Okay, so back to this picture and have a quick look. So I just ended up or left off on the mental foramen. Look at this hole right here. And that's the mental foramen. It's a hole in the mental region. Remember mentis or mental, right? So those are holes in that region. Here's an example of a spine. So if you were to lay down on your back and you could feel your hip bones on the anterior side, that's what you're feeling right there. So we don't just call that a spine, we actually give that a very specific name. And it's a long one. So this is called the anterior superior iliac spine. And that is a bone marking that you're going to have to know on this bone of the pelvis. You'll have to know this for your skeletal system exam. Let me show you what else. a ramus. Students sometimes struggle with what a ramus is. Okay, so a ramus, let's go back. If we come back here, here's a ramus, and here's a ramus. So you see how these bones are going in different directions here? That would be an example of the what we call the pubic ramus, because it's in the pubic region. This photo I don't think shows up in the newer versions of the textbook. I'm not sure why they took it out. It's really useful. This is from an older version. But let's look at the top, and where it says there at top, it'll say, okay, well, here's a general description. Here's the term that we use for that general description. And then there's a definition of that anatomical term. So let's look at the term process, for example. So a process, by definition, is any projection or bump on a bone. Or if we were to look at a spine, okay, well, that doesn't refer to the vertebral column. That refers to any pointed process on a bone. We can look at the term fossa. A fossa is a shallow depression. So some bones will have these shallow depressions in them, and we give these shallow depressions specific names. So there would be like a structure called the jugular fossa. Sometimes that's also called a jugular foramen in specific instances. There is the mandibular fossa. Those are some examples. And so if you had learned the term fossa and you know what the mandible is, that's the lower jawbone, then when you go to look for this landmark, the mandibular fossa, you know, okay, well, it's a shallow depression on the mandible, so you know what you're looking for. A foramen, for example, is a rounded passageway for blood vessels or nerves. Really, it's a hole in a bone, a complete hole in a bone. So there is the carotid foramen, that's one example. And this means that this is a hole where the carotid artery passes through. There is the, oh gosh, now I'm on the spot. There is also the jugular foramen, another hole. So that's where the jugular vein passes through. There is another hole that we call the mental foramen. So if you had learned that a foramen was a hole, then you've done 50% of the work in finding the structure, because you know you're looking for some hole, and depending on what the rest of the phrase is, that tells you where to find it. Okay, so our picture here, let's find ramus in our, here we go, it's up at the top. Here's a ramus. So by definition, it's an extension of a bone that makes an angle to the rest of the structure or bone. So it's like a bend, it's an angle, right? Okay, so I've given you an understanding of how to find the definitions of the different markings, and given you some instruction on what you're going to be doing for learning the axial skeleton. So you're going to be learning the names of the bones and all of the landmarks that are listed in your lab activities. So I think that's the next, yep, here we go. Here is page 1, for example, of your lab activity that you'll begin today and continue on with this week. So as I mentioned, we're learning the names of the bones of the axial skeleton. So below this picture of the skeleton are the names of the bones. And the number in front of each one of those names tells you how many there are. So using your textbook and using your Complete Anatomy app and using Mesa Anatomy, you're going to find you should be able to identify the frontal bone. So for example, that is this bone right here of the skull. Then you'll move on and you'll find the 2 parietal bones. There's one on each side. So here is the parietal bone, and here is the other parietal bone. Then you move on and you go through this list identifying these bones, right? And let's go to this next, let's go to the next one. Here we go. Okay. So once you're able to identify those bones, then what you're going to be doing is you're going back to those bones. So let's say the occipital bone, that's the posterior most bone of the skull. On that occipital bone are bony landmarks or bone markings that we're asking you to identify. So on the occipital bone, there's a structure or landmark called the external occipital protuberance. That's something you should be able to identify. So using your textbook, using the Mesa Anatomy website, and probably most helpful is using your Complete Anatomy app to find that external occipital protuberance. When you're done with that, you move on to trying to find the foramen magnum, the jugular foramen, something called the lambdoidal suture, and that's how you make your way through these lab activities. You'll move on to the next page. All of these terms that you see here in bold are names of bones, and everything that's indented is a marking that you should be able to find on that bone, okay? And students often ask me, do we need to know all of this? Yeah, you do. These aren't things that are made up by me. It's not my choice to ask you to learn these. This is the college's choice, and therefore the state of California's choice. This is the information that those above me are asking anatomy students to learn, okay? So I know it's a lot, but that's kind of the nature of the course. But you have a ton of resources at your disposal. Complete Anatomy is fantastic for bones. For other systems, you may not rely on the Complete Anatomy as much, but definitely for bones and muscles, you will. So if you haven't set up your Complete Anatomy app and you haven't explored it yet, do that ASAP, because you're going to be relying on it very heavily for the skeletal system, okay? The rest of this is just the remaining pages of this week's lab activity. Okay, so you're going to go all the way through. There's a lot of information here, so make sure you get started early. Make sure you study anatomy every single day, and make sure you stay on top of the material. If you get behind, it makes it really hard to catch up, and I don't want you guys to be in that situation. So that's it as far as instructions for learning the bones and the bone markings of the skeletal system. The other component of this week's lab activities is the histology of bone, or the histology of osseous tissue. There is a document for that on the week 1 page, and remember that your responsibilities are to identify the tissue and the structures in that tissue that are listed in the lab handout. Your resources: histology guide, that's histologyguide.com, right? Your textbook, and the Mesa Anatomy website. You can also use Google Images, but I can't guarantee that that information is correct. As you know, anybody can post something on the internet, right? So these are your 3 main resources, reliable resources for all of the information, really, but more specifically for the histology of osseous tissue. Okay, that's all I have. If you guys have questions, please reach out. Okay, have fun.